Northwestern President Michael Schill testified before Congress earlier today, defending his decision to reach an agreement with the encampment. For 3 generations, Ralph and his family have farmed this land, which is now 100 acres and contains hundreds of animals. The Voting Access Committee has led students to write more than 500 postcards during lunch periods. And on election day, they've arranged for buses to pick voting eligible students up here and bringing them to polling centers, like here at Alice Miller Chapel. Now, attendees have gathered at this year's CPAC from across the world, making one thing clear. They are rallying behind former President Donald Trump. People are gearing up for a performance. You can see the boats of people sitting here. Everybody is ready to go because the Minocqua Aquavets are going to be performing in about an hour. The Aquavets are the longest continually running water ski team in the nation.
And you just like, people say, you work all the time, man. It ain't work to me. This is what I love.
Ralph Morden served in the Army for 22 years. After 5 deployments in Iraq, Afghanistan, Bahrain, Kuwait, Bosnia, and time spent serving in the Korean War, he was ready for a more peaceful life. So he returned to his family farm in Ruckersville, Virginia.
It's therapeutic for me, helps me deal with a lot of, PTSD.
He took over cattle run farms when his father became too old. He is now the 3rd generation of Mordens to farm in Greene County, where they've remained the only black farmers in the area.
My father always said that if you have a piece of ground, you hold your ground.
For Ralph's father and grandfather, maintaining ownership of their land has not been easy, especially when faced with discrimination from their local USDA Farm Service Agency. Ralph remembers a time when his father went to the FSA to finance a loan for new equipment.
It was a whole bunch of, nonsense, I call it.
This weariness of the USDA is something that black farmers across America carry with them, and is something that members of Congress are trying to change.
Well, I think we have to reestablish a level of confidence.
Congresswoman Alma Adams is one of the lawmakers who helped write the Justice for Black Farmers Act, a piece of legislation that she hopes is included in the 2023, now 2024 Farm Bill.
Many of the reports of discrimination within USDA have not been investigated properly.
The act is aimed at addressing discrimination against black farmers and ranchers, promising to promote minority access to loans, increase oversight to prevent discrimination on a local level, and ensure equitable land access through black farmer land grants. While it was set to become law last September, it was held up due to partisan debates in Congress.
They can't even agree on keeping the government open. Never mind passing a farm bill.
Fran Miller is a senior staff attorney and adjunct faculty member at the Vermont Law School's Center for Agriculture and Food Systems. She has spent years researching the decades of discrimination against minority-owned farms.
FSA screwed around with black farmers horribly.
This discrimination still has roots today. Out of 492 complaints filed against the USDA last year, 117 contain allegations of discrimination against black farmers. That's over 20%.
Something about power that they don't want to see others succeed,
While the inclusion of equity initiatives in the Farm Bill would be a step in the right direction, it is something that will take a while to actually enact change, with black farmers like Ralph wary of taking advantage of the programs.
I don't like to rely on the subsidies. I don't have to apply for a FSA loan to go and buy my seed for the year. I don't want to do that.
From Greene County, Ellie Skelly, Medill News Service. This problem, the conflict between the affordability of childcare and providing livable wages for childcare workers, has existed for years. But when COVID-19 emphasized the strain put on people's pockets, the state stepped in to create the Child Care Counts subsidy program. This initiative was aimed at helping to maintain livable wages for child workers and provide affordable childcare. Now, post-pandemic, that program is being defunded, but the need still exists. I spoke to some Northwood providers to see how this is affecting childcare workers right here in the Northwoods. Here's what they told me.
I've had to put a lot of things on the back burner and given up a lot of things to work in childcare, so.
Elizabeth Krause is now an assistant director of a child care providing service, a path that she started at 16. What keeps her going is a dedication to her students.
You're in the grocery store. I know my husband used to get really irritated, like, you know, another kid? You know, like, how do you know all these kids? And, you know, hey, Miss Elizabeth, you know, I love that feeling.
But her job is not easy or accessible.
Childcare in itself is a very low paying field. It's a hard job. People may not think it is, but it is.
For providers like ABC Childcare, the need for an increase in funding is necessary to maintain qualified staff members and maximize an ability to provide affordable care.
The Wisconsin childcare industry has been in crisis for about 20 years, and that's why several years ago, even before the pandemic, there was a work group convened to put together an idea for how we can help stabilize the childcare industry.
The result of these efforts was the Child Care Counts program, a government subsidy that helped maintain livable wages. That program is now being defunded.
It has affected us. We did get our first payment now since it has dropped down. Basically, payments are about cut in half.
For childcare providers like ABC, the funding was key to ensuring quality care.
We need support, you know, and again, if it's, what would an extra dollar do for a staff? An extra dollar might just make their day even a little bit. They might push a little more. They might just give a little more.
As you get older, you get worse and worse and worse.
62-year-old Maurice Butler has spent about 20 years living on the street.
You know, my body is tired, my mind is tired.
When he was recently diagnosed with terminal kidney and prostate cancer, he says he knew he needed to find a more permanent and private place to stay.
It make a great difference in my life. You know, sleeping on a bus stop, you got to sleep with one eye open, or a park bench with one eye open, one closed. Here, you can close your eyes and you can let your body rest. You can take a shower. You can feel good about yourself.
At Evanston's Margarita Inn, a homeless shelter run by the nonprofit organization Connections for the Homeless, Butler was offered a temporary home.
It was the city of Evanston saying we have got to get these vulnerable populations out of these congregate settings and into private rooms or into kind of safer situations.
Butler's time at the Margarita Inn is a complete 180 from his previous shelter experiences.
This place is nothing like that. They're not putting you out at 5 o'clock every morning. I mean, 5 o'clock on a Sunday morning, where you going? Ain't no church open. You can't go to church on 5 o'clock in the morning, so you got to walk the streets.
The Margarita Inn is one of 2 hotels bought with Cook County funding. The cost, nearly $14 million. A move Nia Tavularis from Connections for the Homeless says is working.
And it's showing that it's much more impactful. So prior to the pandemic in that congregate setting, about 40% of the folks that we worked with would exit into a stable housing situation. Here at the Margarita, 70% of the folks that have ever come through here exit into a stable housing position.
The hotels were originally used as temporary solutions during the COVID pandemic. Housing advocates say they are turning out to be significantly more effective than a traditional shelter approach.
Now families can stay intact and again really focus their efforts on, you know, moving again to that next destination.
The Wright Inn in Oak Park is the second hotel purchased with county funds. The nonprofit Housing Forward runs it.
We're providing them with that stabilization that they need. There's the psychological safety of being able to shut your door and have a level of privacy.
Both former hotels feature semi-private rooms, 3 meals a day, and support services, prioritizing privacy and independence.
That's our main goal. Like, we just want financial stability for our kids and a good environment for them to grow up and not have to worry about anything, basically.
Access to these features at the Wright Inn helped Janelle McField's family when her partner lost his job. With 3 children and another on the way, she says being able to have their own space was crucial.
I've heard about shelters, and especially with younger kids, it's very hard. And so here you can have a bit of a peace of mind, a bit of a piece of somewhat home.
These services include on-site medical care, access to a life skills coordinator, and caseworkers, helping to lower the barriers to permanent housing. Latricia Freeman is a life skills coordinator at the Margarita Inn.
For the life skill coordinator first to come in and say, first of all, you're welcome, you matter, and this does not have to be your end.
Cook County used American Rescue Plan funds for both projects.
Sleeping in church basements is better than being on the street. However, this is not, nobody would choose that if they had other choices. And so we're trying to be sure that people have more traditional housing, despite the fact that they're struggling financially.
The service coordinators from both organizations say they expect this holistic approach to lead to more long-term success.
You can sleep peacefully, you can have a peace of mind.
For Chicago Tonight and the Medill School of Journalism, I'm Ellie Skelly.